Hi, I'm Chris Steyerwalt, and this must be, or it better be, Power Play, because that's what the animation said. Internet, how you doing? So here's the thing. Iowa is difficult, unpredictable, cold, aggravating sometimes to cover because voters are different. They're not even voters, they're caucus goers, and tracking this process is very challenging sometimes. And it is also proving challenging for the candidates, as Iowa frontrunners Ted Cruz and Donald Trump are roaring into Iowa in an effort to start off with a bang and start off their caucus and primary run with a victory. So who's actually going to do that? Who's actually going to win? Well, we're going to settle it all right now. And there are no two better people I could think of for you to do that with than Sarah Westwood. You know her. She's a reporter for the Washington Examiner. She's a pretty big deal. Let's just level with each other. She's a pretty big deal. My earpiece keeps falling out. I'm sorry. But you know Meredith Shiner, and therefore know that she is a pretty big deal. She is a political correspondent for Yahoo News. Do we say Yahoo News, or do we just say Yahoo?
I think Yahoo News is fine. Separate us from corporate.
Right.
Yeah.
Or also,
I'm not a very good engineer.
And also she cannot fix the fact that you can't get into your old Yahoo email account to join your fantasy baseball draft.
I was going to say the most questions I ever field is if I have any contact point to fix fantasy
get me
baseball.
Because I can't get in.
I don't. I'm sorry, Internet.
And the thing that you like most about Meredith Shiner is the fact that she used to be a sports reporter and she knows her stuff.
That's true.
That's true. These are things that are true. Okay, Sarah, starting with you. Listening to national political reporters talk about the Iowa caucuses, and by the way, listening to people who have never been to church in their life talk about what evangelicals want and all of this stuff, we're in the truly stupid phase of political coverage. Well, they like
Aren't
Sarah.
We always in that phase?
No, but this is the period right before Iowa because it's weird and it's a caucus and it's all this stuff. What's the actual situation in Iowa, do you think?
Well, you know, this whole Palin element has sort of thrown a curveball into the campaign. And
you think?
Well, you know, a lot of people are saying this is bad news for Ted Cruz, but honestly, the Cruz campaign should maybe be excited that that happened yesterday, because it took a lot of focus off the fact that Governor Terry Branstad came out and told Iowans not to vote for Ted Cruz.
You're crazy. Terry Branstad is the establishment in Iowa. If I'm Ted Cruz, Meredith, I'm out saying, you know who they don't want you to vote for? Me.
Yeah,
the establishment doesn't want you to vote. I'd get like a T-shirt like hated by Terry Branstad.
Look, I think there are two questions that you raise. One, with the caucus setup, do these candidates, even if they're doing well in the polls, actually have the infrastructure and the groundwork to succeed in the caucuses? And we've seen that people can fail at that. Howard Dean had tons of energy, and turns out he didn't really know how to caucus, right? So that's a separate question. But the endorsement question, and I actually wrote about this today at Yahoo, I'm just trying to plug the other internet website. I think that the question is, how much do endorsements matter, particularly in a cycle where there's so much anti-establishment fervor? Does it matter that Marco Rubio is endorsed by Trey Gowdy? Well, and with Trump, does Sarah Palin actually move any voters? I think the people who like her were probably already supporting Trump in the first place, right? But at least
you would say this about Trump and Palin. Donald Trump's strategy, Sarah, to this point in the campaign is to be on television all of the time and not pay for it. And I watched, and this was on Wednesday, the MSNBC was wall to wall, they covered Sarah Palin like it was a royal funeral. It was from beginning to end, and it was on air. And everybody took it. Everybody covered it. So at least whatever it does, it keeps him on the front page, right?
You're exactly right. Now the narrative shifted from Ted Cruz is on the rise to Ted Cruz is getting a 1-2 punch from the establishment side, Terry Branstad from the Tea Party side, Sarah Palin. And it just brings the focus back to Donald Trump at a time when maybe it was starting to go to Ted Cruz ever so slightly.
Ever so slightly.
But I think that.
Well, go ahead. No. Go. Did you have something else you want to say?
Well, you know, it's just now we're debating whether Sarah Palin is still a viable person to, be giving people advice on who to vote for.
On that point, so Donald Trump is trying to build a new electoral coalition. Or you put it another way, he's trying to revive an electoral coalition that was once robust in the 1990s, which was the reform movement, the disaffected blue-collar Democrats, disaffected Republicans, independents together for a thing. Now, in Iowa, you can go declare your partisan affiliation on caucus day. You can go up and say, yeah, I'm a Republican, I'm caucusing here. Sarah Palin is part of that, right? Because she's become more of a transpartisan figure. She is no longer identified as bright red Republican. She's endorsed non-Republicans in races. She talks about the left-right coalition, right? Does that help his brand there?
I don't know that necessarily helps his brand per se. I think that Donald Trump didn't just wake up and have all of this support overnight. I think that there have been forces within the Republican Party that have been growing, especially starting in 2010 with that Tea Party election. But one of the things that we were talking about today was that Sarah Palin was a huge and actively sought after endorser in that 2010 election. And she played in 35 House races. Yeah, but in 2010, at the peak Sarah Palin and peak Tea Party movement, at least with her as the face of it, there were 35 House races she got involved in, and she only won 15 of them. She lost in 10 primaries. She's always had a mixed record.
She improved her record. She became much more savvy. She endorsed Senator Ben Sass in Nebraska, who is not exactly tricorn hat guy. She got savvier with her endorsements in the 2012 and 2014 cycles, right?
She did, and she did less of them, so they were more effective. But she still endorsed some losers. She endorsed Karen Handel of Georgia, who didn't even make it to a runoff. So
Chris Daniels.
Right. She doesn't exactly have a pristine record of endorsement. It's really just about, like you said, the optics of it, the media narrative.
All right. Is Trump understated, overstated, or correctly stated in the polls?
I think that it seems like he's about correctly stated. Right as we were walking in here, there was a Pew poll that just got released, and 55% of Republican voters think that he would either be a good or great president. I think that there's a lot of support for him. The question is whether or not there are any establishment forces that could correct in the event that he or Cruz wins Iowa, they do really well in New Hampshire. Is there a candidate that people who are more establishment Republican would want to turn to?
Or get behind.
Yeah, and it just seems like that person really isn't there. I feel like in 2012,
you got four guys fighting over one crust of bread out in the alleyway. They're like, well, as soon as we kill each other, then we'll focus on the guy who has all of the loaves. Ladies, thank you for bringing your excellence and crusts to our presence today. We thank you. And you, Internet, we certainly thank you. You are more than a crust. You are a whole loaf of excellence. And we hope you come back for more Power Play real soon.